Here are the top stories for today, December 11, 2020. The country plans to get its supply of COVID-19 vaccines from 3 manufacturers starting next year. Malacanang maintains the Philippines can still be drug-free by 2022. The government says it is now at 9.5 on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of winning the war against terrorism. And the Department of Tourism vows to support dive tourism in Batangas. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. The Philippines will be getting its supply of COVID-19 vaccines starting next year. These will be coming from 3 manufacturers such as Sinovac, Biotech, Oxford AstraZeneca, and Pfizer-BioNTech. Despite previous bribery allegations against Sinovac, Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said Malacanang is confident Filipino officials will not get involved in a similar controversy concerning the eventual entry of coronavirus vaccines. In terms of financing, Roque said the 72.5 billion pesos appropriated for COVID-19 vaccines would be enough to purchase necessary doses. The government is aiming to inoculate 60 to 70 million Filipinos within 3 to 5 years.
The target remains that Sinovac will be the first that we can use to vaccinate our people, and it will be in the first quarter of next year. Pfizer will come in the second and the third quarter. Pagdating sa AstraZeneca, nagkaroon na po ng tripartite agreement at in advance na po ng private sector yung order natin sa AstraZeneca. Consistent po tayo na papayagan lang natin magamit ang mga bakuna na napatunayan ng ligtas at mabisa laban sa COVID-19. Buong-buo po ang tiwala ni Presidente kay Dr. Domingo. So pagdating po dyan sa mga allegations on bribery, tingin ko po hindi mangyayari yan sa Pilipinas.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines assured all Filipinos that it continues to stand for human rights while performing its mandate to protect the people and the state. In his message during the International Human Rights Day, AFP Chief of Staff General Gilbert Gapay said the AFP stands up for human rights and continue to stand by its principles even in the face of the pandemic in protecting the people and the state. He said the adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948 will continue to hold the military accountable in protecting human rights, especially in times of conflicts. Gapay is urging everyone to resist radicalization and seek a just end to all violence. The country is reaping serious gains in addressing violent crimes against media workers. This is according to Wilson Suba, officer in charge of the Planning Division of the Department of Justice or DOJ. During the 2020 Human Rights Summit, Suba reported that from 1986 to the present, 244 cases of violence against media workers were reported. Out of the 244 cases, 180 were killings and 68 of these were deemed by the task force as work-related. These 68 cases include the 32 cases of killings from the Maguindanao massacre. Of the 68 cases, 56 resulted in convictions. Trial is ongoing for 7 cases, while 5 cases are undergoing investigation. Suba said the country was delisted from the list of top 5 most dangerous countries in the world for journalists by the Reporters Without Borders in December 2018. He said the Duterte administration is presently implementing laws meant to strengthen the protection of freedom of opinion and expression in the safety of media workers. Malacanang expressed confidence that the country will be drug-free before President Rodrigo Duterte steps down in 2022. In a press briefing, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque clarified the statement of Dangerous Drugs Board Chair Catalino Cuy. He said Cuy's statement was taken out of context for saying that making the Philippines drug-free is no longer a realistic goal.
Sa korte po, ang sasabihin ko, objection, misleading, Yusek. Kasi hindi po yun ang sinabi ni Yusek Cuy. Ang sinabi po niya, yan pa rin po ang ating goal na maging drug-free ang Pilipinas by 2022. Pero mangyayari lang po ito kung paiintingin ng mga lokal ng pamahalaan yung kanilang mga ginagawang hakbang para maging drug-free ang ating mga barangay. Sa ngayon po, ang mabuting balita, out of 42,045 barangays, 20,538 na po ang drug-free. At kampante pa rin po tayo kung makipagtulungan po talaga ang lokal na pamahalaan na yung natitirang 14,308 barangays ay magiging drug-free pa rin pagdating po ng pagtapos ng termino ng ating presidente.
Meanwhile, marijuana remains to be a dangerous drug in the country despite the United Nations decision to reclassify it as less dangerous. According to the Dangerous Drugs Board and the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, the government still has the jurisdiction relative to classifying and regulating cannabis at the domestic level. The two agencies said cannabis is still classified as a dangerous drug under Republic Act number 9165 or the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002. Unauthorized importation, sale, possession, cultivation, and use of cannabis remain to be punishable under the law. Manila City government provides amnesty for traffic violators by waiving their accumulated penalties, interest, and surcharges. This and other news around the metro from Chris Mundo.
Manila Mayor Isko Moreno Domagoso waives the accumulated penalties of traffic violators. In a Facebook post, Domagoso said the decision aims to help motorists amid the COVID-19 pandemic. All residents of Manila, as well as from other areas whose licenses are confiscated by the Manila Traffic and Parking Bureau or any commissioned officer, may avail of the amnesty within 90 days from the effectivity of the city ordinance. In Valenzuela City, the local government reminded its employees that there will be no gift policy on the holiday season. City Hall employees are prohibited to solicit, receive, or accept directly and indirectly any gift or favor from any individual or group they serve or transact with in relation to their official duties. In Quezon City, the task force VOWS to Normal was created to manage the COVID-19 vaccine program in the city. The task force said that once the vaccines become available, it will prioritize the healthcare workers, indigent families, and senior citizens. Task Force Co-Chairman Joseph Huico said this is in line with the guidelines set by the national government and the World Health Organization. He said the City Health Department and health workers will administer the vaccine to the Quezon City residents. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Mundo.
Singing and karaoke have always been part of holiday celebrations, but now the government wants them limited as part of measures against COVID-19. Can Filipinos bear being monitored while enjoying their karaoke this Christmas? Let's find out.
Well, para sa akin, depende. O kaya magbigay na lang ng oras. Kasi tradisyon na ng Pilipino yun. Hindi naman natin maalis na hindi mag-videoke. Kahit sabihin mong bawal, gagawin pa rin. So, ang gawin na lang, maglagay na lang ng curfew na hanggang ganitong oras na lang para at least ma-enjoy pa rin natin ang Pasko. Kahit may pandemic, kailangan pa rin tayo eh.
Hindi siguro. Kasi pag minonitor mo siya, parang mag-aalangan ka eh. Hindi tayo pwede i-monitor. Kasi parang ang dating noon ay hindi, para sa akin hindi maganda.
Para sa akin depende. Kung hindi naman ganun ka-loud, okay lang. Kung hindi nakaka-istorbo, then as well as maintain pa rin sa social distancing. Kasi nga di ba meron pa rin tayong pandemic. Ganun.
Ganda para mas maiwasan natin yung pag-spread ng mga virus kung meron pa man dyan. Hindi natin kasi mamamonitor palagi. Mas maganda kung mas marami nagtatanong at bumapansin doon, baka makakalimutan natin na yun pala ay makakatulong din sa atin. Mas maganda, pabor ako.
Kasi naka-pandemic tayo ngayon eh. Para na lang sa protect, para na lang sa natin, safety. So, hindi na kailangan yon. Unless naka-social distancing or nando tayo sa open area, okay lang na ganon.
Still to come, Malacanang assures that President Duterte will thoroughly review the proposed 2021 national budget. The government says it is now at 9.5 on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of winning the war against terrorism. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Alamin kung paano ang tamang pagsusuot ng surgical mask. Una, hawakan ang mask sa strap at siguruhing natatakpan nito ang inyong bibig at ilong. Tandaan, ang may kulay na bahagi ng mask ang dapat nasa labas. Ito lamang ang tamang paraan ng pagsuot nito. Ihulma ang nose piece o maliit na metallic strip ayon sa hugis ng inyong ilong. Iwasan ang paghawak sa inyong ilong at bibig. Kung marumi na ang mask, hubarin ito gamit ang strap at itapon ito sa isang basurahan. Siguruhin ang maayos na paghuhugas ng kamay gamit ang sabon at tubig. Ang surgical mask ay dapat gamitin ng mga pasyenteng may sakit sa baga o mga taong mayroong ubo, sipon at lagnat, mga nag-aalaga sa mga may sakit, at mga healthcare at frontline workers. Maaari ring magsuot nito kung kayo ay pupunta sa matataong lugar. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. The early passage of the proposed 4.5 trillion peso national budget for 2021 would give President Rodrigo Duterte ample time to thoroughly review it. According to presidential spokesperson Harry Roque, the palace will take all steps necessary to enact the 2021 General Appropriations Bill on time to avert a reenacted budget scenario. Both chambers of Congress ratified the Bicameral Conference Committee report on the 2021 budget, which will support the country's calamity and COVID-19 responses. This includes the 72.5 billion pesos for the procurement of COVID-19 vaccines.
Ang bibigyan po natin ng kasiguraduhan, bibilisan naman po ng palasyo ang pagsusuri sa budget para malaman kung mayroong mga specific line item na i-veto ang presidente. Pero siyempre po, lahat yan dapat mangyari ngayon na dahil kinakailangan magkaroon tayo ng budget pagdating ng 1 ng Enero. We will take all steps necessary para maging batas po ito on time, pero hindi po sasakripisyo o isusurrender ng palasyo, ng presidente, yung kanyang kapangyarihan na pag-aralan ng budget at siguraduhin na walang dapat na item ng appropriation na dapat ma-veto. So the President will still exercise his power of review and his power of line veto.
A high-ranking communist New People's Army leader was killed during a pre-dawn law enforcement operation in Tandag City, Surigao del Sur. He was identified as Alvin Luque, spokesperson of the National Democratic Front in Mindanao. Luque reportedly fired on the approaching police and military personnel who were at the resort to serve his arrest warrants. According to Surigao del Sur Police Provincial Office Director Colonel James Goforth, Luque is facing criminal charges of 2 counts of murder, kidnapping, and serious illegal detention. He has a 6 million peso bounty on his head and was killed with a still unidentified companion during the operation. Found near Luque and his companions' bodies were a caliber .45 Remington 19-11 pistol, a fragmentation grenade, a 40mm high explosive grenade, 500 rounds of 7.62 ammunition for AK-47 rifle, NPA flags, and subversive documents. The National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, or NTF-LCAC, said that the government is winning the war against the communist terrorist group. During the first Panay Peace Summit held in Pasay City, Iloilo, NTF-LCAC spokesperson Lieutenant General Antonio Parlades said that on a scale of 1 to 10, the government's campaign against terrorism is now at 9.5. Parlade lauded the convergence efforts of government agencies in the region and even claimed that the task force in Western Visayas is ahead because there are still issues in other regions. Meanwhile, the Department of Social Welfare and Development extended its assistance by giving 5,000 pesos and packs of goodies for each of the 70 rebels who attended the event. These former rebels took their oath of allegiance to the government and affixed their signature to the Wall of Commitment. The Philippine Coast Guard in Negros Oriental has forwarded some 10 tons of relief items for victims affected by the recent typhoons in Luzon. Coast Guard Dumaguete Station Commander Lieutenant Commander Jansen Benjamin said that the relief goods were collected by the PCG from different sectors and individuals in Dumaguete City and the province of Negros Oriental. The donations are now with the PCG Logistics Command for sorting before distribution. The Dumaguete Press Club facilitated the turnover of relief goods as well as other sectors that also handed in their donations. The distribution of the relief goods is expected by the end of the week. Meanwhile, the Swiss government will contribute about 27 million pesos to support the calamity-stricken regions in the Philippines. The donations to be coursed through the Philippine Red Cross include support in health, water, sanitation, hygiene and shelter, and humanitarian relief items, among others. The Southern Philippines Medical Center in Davao City assures it can still keep up with the influx of COVID-19 cases in the city. More on this and other news from the provinces from Janice Cabe.
The Southern Philippines Medical Center assures it can still manage the influx of COVID-19 patients, which has pushed its hospital bed capacity to critical levels. SPMC officer in charge, Dr. Ricardo Auldan, said 93% of the intensive care unit beds at SPMC is occupied, while its isolation wards are at 81% capacity. He said despite nearing capacity, SPMC's facility for COVID-19 has been augmented by more frontline health personnel from outside the city, enabling the hospital to cater to the overwhelming number of admissions. In Zamboanga City, the government-owned Zamboanga City Medical Center is set to establish a 44 million peso infectious disease center to cater to emerging and re-emerging diseases. The Infectious Disease Center will comprise 2 isolation facilities funded by the World Bank and the national government and set to be completed by the middle of 2021. The 2 facilities will cater to patients afflicted with COVID-19, MERS, severe acute respiratory syndrome or SARS, and other infectious diseases. Zamboanga City Medical Center will also establish a molecular laboratory for COVID-19 and other infectious diseases. Meanwhile, the DOH Central Luzon Center for Health Development has asked local government units to strictly implement the minimum public health standards to prevent a post-holiday surge of COVID-19 cases. DOH Region 3 Director Cesar Castron asked the LGUs to intensify public risk communication by disseminating public health campaigns and in the issuance of holiday advisories for adherence at home, closed settings, workplace settings, and public places. He sought the strict implementation of the prohibition on mass gatherings, especially in high-risk areas. Central Luzon has reported the recovery of 76 patients on Wednesday, bringing to 20,749 the total number of recoveries, or 87.6% of the total 23,675 confirmed cases in the region. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cabe.
In our business news, consumer advocacy group Laban Consumer Incorporated is reminding the public that gift checks, gift certificates, and gift cards have no expiry dates. LKI President Victorio Mario Dimagiba said issuing GCs bearing an expiration date is a violation of the law. Dimagiba, a former DTI Undersecretary for Consumer Welfare, said the violating party should return the unused GCs with expiry dates within 90 days of the violation. The LKI founder called on DTI to enforce the rules and guidelines in the Gift Check Act. The call was made as consumers have had a very hard time going out and using GCs, especially given the circumstances of the pandemic. Up next, the DSWD releases about 60 million pesos in emergency aid to low-income families in Central Visayas. And the Department of Tourism vows to support dive tourism in Batangas. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
Some 60 million pesos has been disbursed to over 10,000 low-income families in Central Visayas through the DSWD Emergency Subsidy Program or ESP. Each family received a 6,000 peso emergency cash subsidy. The Department of Social Welfare and Development in Central Visayas said 525 beneficiaries live in areas placed under granular lockdown since September 14. Among them, Trinidad, Tubigon, and San Miguel in Bohol, and Zamboanguita in Negros Oriental. The ESP is under the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act or Bayanihan 2, provided as the government's response and recovery intervention to the pandemic. Over 1.4 million formal sector workers have applied for the COVID Adjustment Measures Program or CAMP under the Bayanihan to Heal as One Act or Bayanihan 2. In a statement, Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III said the number as of December 8 exceeded by more than 2,000 workers the number of target beneficiaries of the program. More than 2.3 billion of the program's 4 billion peso allocation has been given to qualified applicants. Qualified applicants for CAMP would receive a one-time cash assistance of 5,000 pesos. Bello said DOLE regional offices shall continue receiving and processing applications for financial assistance under CAMP for tourism sector workers. The program also covers teaching and non-teaching personnel in private educational institutions. In continuing efforts to open tourism amid the pandemic, the Department of Tourism vowed to support the development of dive tourism in Anilao, Batangas, otherwise known as the birthplace of scuba diving in the Philippines. During the stakeholders meeting hosted by Mabini Mayor Noel Luistro, Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat encouraged dive establishment operators to strictly uphold health and safety protocols as well as improve the readiness of their area for tourism. For its part, the Philippine Commission on Sports Scuba Diving committed to continuing waiving the accreditation fees for dive establishments and professionals, conducting subsidized training, organizing events, and providing platforms for selling and promoting dive packages. Batangas has been open for divers since October 2020. The province remains under general community quarantine, wherein leisure travel is not yet allowed. Iligan City is embracing PUV modernization as 15 eco-friendly vehicles are deployed to give fresh income and comfortable transportation to Iliganos. Christine Lynn Viajante has the story.
15 modernized eco-friendly public utility vehicles or PUVs are set to operate here in Iligan City. With the efforts of Royal Developers Consortium Transport Services Cooperative or RODECO, the Office of Transportation Cooperative and LTFRB, the first modern jeeps to operate in Iligan and Lanao del Norte are ready to roll the streets of Iligan to Bayanihan Village, Barangay Santa Elena and vice versa.
Ito po ay isang malaking project, no, ng ating presidente. importante. Talaga pong itutuloy po ito.
With a start-up fare of 11 pesos, passengers will experience a comfortable and safe ride to the said destinations. The convenience of air-conditioned units complete with GPS system, 4 CCTV cameras, and flat-screen TVs are provided by the new PUVs.
Gusto natin kakalat yung pagbabago ng ating sistema. Hindi lang unit, kung hindi, sa pamaraan paano tayo mamamasada. Yung ruta, pinag-aralan para naman kikita.
Roderick, driver of one of the modern PUVs, appreciates the government's new transportation system. Aside from gaining fixed and sufficient income, Roderick will also enjoy social benefits.
Lahat naman about sa SS, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig, tanang benepisyo ilang yatag sa mga may siguro gyud nga mabuhi gyud ang atong pamilya.
For PNA Newsroom, Christine Lynn Viajante of PIA Iligan City Information Center.
And here is the latest in our community billboard. Manila's cultural heritage sites will get the spotlight in an upcoming free virtual concert. The Hinahanap-Hanap Kita Manila concert will feature various OPM artists such as Ebe Dancel, Army Milyare, and 4 of Spades Blaster Silonga. They will be covering hit songs of iconic OPM band Hot Dog. The free concert will also be headlined by brass Pas 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 with Raymond Marasigan, Yeng Constantino, Nicole Laurel Arsenio, Bing Austria, Bea Lorenzo, Rubber Inc., and Gary Valenciano. The concert will be available for streaming on the Facebook pages of the Department of Tourism, Tourism Promotions Board, Intramuros Administration, Nayong Pilipino, and National Parks and Development Committee on December 13 at 8 p.m. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. The country plans to get its supply of COVID-19 vaccines from 3 manufacturers starting next year. Malacanang maintains the Philippines can still be drug-free by 2022. The government says it is now at 9.5 on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of winning the war against terrorism. And the Department of Tourism vows to support dive tourism in Batangas. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, check our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And it is 14 more days to go before Christmas, and that's roughly around 2 weeks. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day, stay safe, and happy weekend, everyone.